Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. Today we're taking a look at this guy right here, Sola Fide, from Stronghold Games. It's a game that I guess you could say simulates, kind of, not really, but it is centered around the Reformation Era of history, where you have the Protestants struggling for control of different areas in Europe with the Roman Catholic Church. And so it is a two-player game where one player takes on the role of the Catholics and the other person takes on the role of the Protestants, and you're vying for control. Whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins. But let's get down to the table and I'll show you how it works. So the main point of Sola Fide is to score the most points. Points are denoted by these icons on the different regions or circles that players are going to be battling over throughout the course of the game. When a player gains control of a region, they will take the region and flip it over and place it in front of them. And then those victory points that they have won are going to be the victory points that they'll score at the end of the game. Another way that a person can score points throughout the course of the game are these reward or bonus cubes that they can win if the disputation token happened to be residing in the region that they won when they won it. So when they are going to take this, if this token was there, then not only do they get this point, but they will also get one bonus point as well. So first of all, during setup, there is recommended for you in the rules that you simply use these cards that have an oval circle at the bottom of them. Each person has a deck of 45 cards, 15 of which have this oval circle at the bottom of them where the card's number is. Each game, each person is only going to be using 15 of their 45 cards. So this is a recommended starting deck, so to speak. But then after your first couple of games, once you have a very good grasp on what each deck is kind of capable of doing, you're going to want to draft your cards. And so the way you do that, you have 45 cards in the deck. You're going to draw 3 cards, choose one of them, and then set the others aside in the discard pile. This one is going to be the one that goes into your deck. You do that 14 more times, going through the entire 45 card deck, at the end of which you'll have a deck of 15 cards that you have chosen for that specific game. Once you have your starting deck of 15 cards, each player will then draw a starting hand of 3 cards with which to begin the game. During your turn, you're either going to be playing a card from your hand or drawing a card from your deck. Not both, either. There is a hand limit of 5 cards, and there are cards in both decks that will limit your opponent's hand. Now, there are a number of different things that the cards will enable you to do in the game, which will help you either gain territories or stifle your opponent's power in a certain territory. So for example, if I play local printing presses here, it says that I'm going to convert 1 territory on either side of an imperial circle. So you'll see here that each imperial circle has 2 different sides. It has a commoner side and it also has a nobility side. And there's also a track for the power. Wherever the token is, or the cube is, that represents the dominant side in that circle, and this is the subordinate side. So if a card tells you to convert 1 territory, you're going to be looking at these things right here. And it says on either side, so I can convert a territory either on this side or that side. To convert a territory, you're simply taking one of your power cubes and placing it on one of the territories that is already under the control of your opponent. Now, it is possible for your opponent to have control of one of your spaces already, and so instead of playing one of these cubes out, in order to convert, you could replace like this. Or you could also simply remove, and that is a conversion, because normally the Protestant side has control over this territory right here. So removing this is converting it back to Protestant control. Another thing that a card might tell you to do is, for example, here it says shift a single imperial circle toward either side, then draw one card. So if I play this one, Martin Bucer, Blessed Are the Peacemakers, I would be able to shift the power toward either side. So if I wanted it to stay on the commoner side, I would push it this way. Or as I'm going for the nobility side here, I want to shift it over this way. Some cards are even a bit more powerful. For example, the Lord's Supper, Both Kinds, says to convert all neutral territories in the Lower Saxon and Swabian imperial circles. So this Lower Saxon circle, and if the Swabian circle was already up, I'd be able to convert all neutral territories in those circles like so. And then other cards, like Squabbling Between Catholic Orders, says convert one territory on the commoner's side and in a single imperial circle, then shift that circle one space toward the commoners. So it has a combination of the two, where I could say, oh, I'll convert that territory there, and then shift it over to the commoner's side. Other cards just allow you to draw more cards and add them to your hand. And then some cards allow you to move the disputation token to any imperial circle, and then this one specifically says to draw a card as well. So if I play that card, I would actually be able to take the disputation token and place it on any imperial circle that is available. It is also possible to play this card and then just simply leave it where it is. Then there are also cards that allow me to draw two cards and then play one. For example, I'm going to play this one that says convert one territory on the dominant side in a single imperial circle, and then shift the circle one space toward the dominant side. So I'm going to go ahead and place it here, and then that allows me to shift that there. And now that I have all of the spaces on the dominant side of the circle filled to my side, that is done. So these are removed. Because the disputation token was there, I also get a bonus reward cube to be added as an extra bonus point. This comes off, and then that opens up these two areas of the board so that now we can begin quarreling over those as well. Power cubes are added where the icon states on the boards, and then play continues. Now each side also has cards that are called persistent cards that have the infinity symbol in the bottom of them, and these are cards that will stay in front of you and remain in play until you play another persistent card out, which would take the place of it. So either side can only have one persistent card in play at a single time. And then the Catholic player also has cards that are military cards in its deck, his or her deck rather, which are powerful cards and also brings into effect this military chart and the die. And so when a Catholic player uses its military power, the Protestant player is going to be able to roll this die and consult this chart and do something. Sometimes it's very good for the Protestant player, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's a little bad for the Catholic player, sometimes it's really bad. And then finally, in addition to the benefits of getting the victory points for the circle that you scored, possibly getting a bonus reward token if the disputation token was on that territory when you won it, whenever a player does gain control of a region and flips it over into their tableau, they also get to draw one of these a card from one of these foreign influence decks that are in the game, and they have varying effects on the game as well. So for example, this deck here allows you to remove influence from, generally speaking. This one allows you to simply get more cards. This one allows you to shift power in this region over here. And then this one allows you to gain influence. And so that's generally how the game goes. One person either playing or drawing a card, the next person either playing or drawing a card, carrying out the effects of cards played, and so forth and so on until all of the regions have been scored. And then who has the most victory points on territories controlled, plus any green bonus tokens. Whoever has the most points is the winner. So that is Sola Fide, the Reformation by Christian Leonard and Jason Matthews from Stronghold Games. And this is a game that I actually really did enjoy. Now, I've played it a few times now, and it seems to me that the Catholic deck is a bit more powerful than the Protestant deck. And I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing. There is an asymmetry that is there, which I usually enjoy in games, but I have yet to win as the Protestant side. Now, I don't know if that's very well could be that I'm just not a very good player and the people that I've been playing against were simply doing a better job than I was. But there are some cards in the Catholic deck that simply seem to be a little bit more useful than most of the cards in the Protestant deck. For example, the Catholic seems to be able to cycle through their deck a little bit more easily than the Protestant player is. So that's a huge thing because that means your more powerful cards are going to be coming up more often. So there is that. Now, with that being said, I think it's important to note that this is a very cool back and forth, a very tension-filled game because you always feel like you're kind of against the clock. You know that you only have a little bit of time before your opponent starts working in the same area that you're working, so you need to try to get as many territories converted over to your side as you can before they start taking them away. So there is a very tense back and forth nature that this game has that I really find enjoyable, and I think a lot of other people are going to find it pretty cool as well. It does have a little bit of a luck of the draw type thing in there, but because the decks are only 15 cards deep, usually you're going to be able to get the cards that you planned on having throughout the course of your game multiple times. Now, while we're talking about that, I think it's important that the first couple of games, you really kind of do need to play with those oval circled cards down at the bottoms, just so you can get a feel of how the game works and how everything needs to come up. But after that, I think it's very important that you use the drafting mechanism that is in the game because that's where a lot of the strategy and planning and building your deck is going to come into effect as you get into the game. If you continuously use those 15 starting hand or starting deck cards, it'll probably get pretty stale, pretty dry pretty quickly. But opening yourself up to those other 30 cards that are in each deck respectively will really kind of give you a very deep, resonating feel, I think, each time you play the game. Now, it won't change how the game is played, but trying out different strategies and different tactics, different tactical cards throughout the course of the game, I think will give it a very fresh feel to it and extend its shelf life considerably. Another cool thing that the game provides is an accompanying booklet, and basically what this does is it goes through and lists each of the different cards that are in each of the different decks and gives the historical background for each of them, including the different foreign influence cards that are in those decks as well. So I think this is a pretty cool addition and gives a lot of historical flavor to the game. However, I think they missed an opportunity here because they could have also included a I guess you could say a clarification on what the different cards do and how they actually work out, because there were a couple of times in my playtests where we kind of had to just use our own logic, reasoning, which I know, horrible thing to make a player do, right? But we had to use our own reasoning, our own logic to kind of work through and just kind of agree on how a card should work out from time to time. But it would have been a lot better had we had some kind of errata or clarification in this booklet along with all of the historical information that comes in there. Minor nitpick at the end of the day, but I still wish it would have happened. So my final thoughts on Sola Fide is quite simply this. This is a great two-player, quick game. It only takes anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how I guess you could say how seasoned each of the different players are, because if you have two people who have constructed decks that are very well at counteracting each other, then the game's probably going to take a little bit longer. But I would say, even in that sense, it's going to be probably around 45-minute time frame for that. So it is a very fast, it is a very quick game with a lot of back and forth tension that I really enjoyed a lot, and I love the historical flair that is in this game. The graphic design was, while it wasn't flashy, I don't think it was supposed to be flashy. I don't think it needs to be flashy. It is very period-esque, I guess you could say, because it has a very ancient look to it, and I like that a lot. So that is Sola Fide. I'm giving it 2 praying hands up, because it is just that good. And you guys should go check it out. And that's it from me. We'll see you guys on the flip side.